The early 1900s were a prosperous and exciting time for the city of Prince Albert, all due to one innovative new project proposed in 1907. The Colle Falls project, proposed by Charles H. Mitchell, would end up being one of, if not the most, historically important projects in the history of northern Saskatchewan. Mitchell was an engineer who worked on the world-famous landmark Niagara Falls. He proposed building a state-of-the-art hydroelectric dam that would convert the flow of the North Saskatchewan River to a 10,000 horsepower a year, cheap, sustainable source of power. Despite not having the required research finished, Mitchell's proposal was accepted by the City of Prince Albert Council. While we could not find any photos of Mitchell, we do have this artist rendering of the pitch.
You know, a town with money's a little like the mule with a spinning wheel. No one knows how he got it, and danged if he knows how to use it.
Mule.
The name's Lanley, Lyle Lanley. And I come before you good people tonight with an idea. Probably the greatest... Oh, it's not for you. It's more of a Shelbyville idea.
Now, wait just a minute. We're twice as smart as the people of Shelbyville. Just tell us your idea and we'll vote for it.
Prince Albert's apparent desperation for new ideas was for good reason. We asked Michelle Taylor of the Prince Albert Historical Museum what Prince Albert was like before the birth of the province.
We were the place to be. We were the first city in Saskatchewan. So we were kind of just the meeting place for northern Saskatchewan and for those who were traveling east and west.
As Saskatchewan became its own province in the early 1900s, Prince Albert was quickly being left behind. This came as a shock to residents, as before the official formation of the province, Prince Albert had been the capital city of the Northwest Territories District of Saskatchewan. When the province was officially born in 1905, the capital city moved to Regina. Prince Albert was struggling to keep up with its siblings to the south. The Colle Falls project intended to bring cheap, sustainable power to the community. In anticipation of the project, construction and development flourished as the city prepared for an influx of industry to move into the area. This would help the city find its new identity in the modern world. Prince Albert, the White Coal City.
Their big scheme was there would be so much power with Colle Falls that they would be able to bring in extra industry into Prince Albert and be the center of northern Saskatchewan.
On April 24, 1912, Prince Albert started work on the Colle Falls hydroelectric dam. The city had started the project as a joint venture with the federal government. Unfortunately, an unforeseen shift in policy left the city to shoulder the financial burden alone. To fund construction, the city sold municipal power bonds to whoever would buy them. Unfortunately for the city, European interest in Canadian municipal bonds vanished. Despite efforts by city officials to sell bonds in the UK and US, there were no foreign investors willing to bite. The lack of interest in bonds and the alarming inflation of costs began to create civil unrest with the project. In July of 1913, the general manager of Colle Falls Development finally released a fully detailed construction estimate. The costs were up to 350% more than what Mitchell had projected. By the end of the month, the Imperial Bank of Canada had no choice but to refuse additional funding to the city of Prince Albert. The Colle Falls Dam was nowhere near finished. An external analysis revealed that to produce 4,000 horsepower, only 40% of Mitchell's promised 10,000, the city would have to come up with an additional $1.2 million to finish the project. Prince Albert ultimately chose to abandon their dream of being the White Coal City.
During the 1912 to 1913 years, people were just so ecstatic about what PA could become. And so in 1912, it was George Will, who was a real estate planner. He drew up this amazing map of huge PA. It would have been over 100,000 people, and residential places on the north side of the river, residential far to the south, east and west. With the failure of Colle Falls, the abandonment of Colle Falls in 1913 kind of put an end to that. And even today, if you see today's city map of PA, we are well within the boundaries that they had planned for 1912.
The aftermath of the Colle Falls project left Prince Albert without any borrowing power and a debt of over $3 million. Prince Albert chose to stick together and honor those debts. Though the burden would almost cripple the city, Wealthy citizens like Samuel McLeod pledged their personal fortunes and credit to keep the city afloat.
Sam McLeod, who was a real estate agent, a kind of a do-all guy, put forward $5,000 so that the public school system could open because the city had no more money. They put all of in those early years, they put all of their money towards paying off any of the debentures that were sold because the banks would not give them any more money.
It would take Prince Albert over 50 years to repay what they had borrowed. In 1965, the city finally finished paying for the Lacole Falls debacle. The effect the debt had on the city is still seen today, most notably in its lack of development.
It was such a huge project in the early 1910s that we just weren't able to recover from the money that was needed to be spent on it. And we're seeing that now with all the infrastructure that's being redone.
Prince Albert survived, but whatever happened to the partially finished dam 45 kilometers east of Prince Albert? The short answer? Nothing. The concrete structure still stands. The city has abandoned the site, making it incredibly difficult to reach. Michelle recounts her attempt to see the site almost 10 years ago.
When we went out there, it was a very wet year. We got up to the top and walked down in, and then a very large bear scat was there, so it wasn't exactly the most safe. And now too, with the visitors coming in who want to come and see the Lacole Falls, we do tell them here that, you know, it's enter at your own risk. The roads are not good. It's not an easy anything to get in there.
Since then, conditions have only become worse. Visiting the site is discouraged by both the city and the Historical Museum. To some citizens, the site is a badge of shame. To others, like Natasha Ronspies, the site reminds her of her childhood. Natasha, a local wilderness enthusiast, agreed to take us down to the site and talk about what it means to her.
I grew up in central Saskatchewan, and this was one of the most fundamental parts of my childhood and growing up was coming here to Lacole Falls. So my parents used to bring us out here. We'd have picnics, we'd have fires, but that was before it all started crumbling. There was no graffiti, everything was nice. You could drive down, the road was maintained. And over the years, as you can see, it's not like that anymore. We have graffiti everywhere, it's crumbling. We just had to walk a couple miles just to get down here. So it's really taking away from that memories that not only I hold, but that so many people hold, and the significance of it. Because this place is such a huge part of the history, especially in Prince Albert and the people around here.
The preservation of the dam and the history it holds comes up in City Council every couple years, but Michelle explains the harsh reality that the city might not be ready to embrace Lacole Falls.
It's just, it was such a huge failure for the city that nobody really wants yet to talk about it. Until a new generation can come in, until we see development within the city, I don't think anybody will want to raise too big of a flag about the subject.
The city of Prince Albert may look at the incomplete slab of concrete rotting away in the North Saskatchewan River as a reminder of their failure, as a scar left by swindlers and desperate politicians. But it could be so much more than that. The site could be a reminder that Prince Albert is a community that bands together during tough times. The legacy of Lacole Falls is a community that still lives by the values that kept it alive over a century ago. Even in the face of disaster, the community spirit of Prince Albert will always be the light at the end of any tunnel. That together, the community of Prince Albert and area can and will accomplish anything.